the Oak Park Municipal Advisory Council meeting for January 29th, 2026 will now come to order. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian Trushinsky. I am the chair of the MAC. And on behalf of my colleagues here and Supervisor Gurrell's staff, we'd like to welcome all of you this evening. It's going to be a very good meeting. Lots of information to be presented tonight, and we're really happy to bring it forward to you tonight. First thing I'll do is do a call of order, to ensure we have a quorum. Please, council, say present when I call your name. Jane Nye.
Present.
Michelle Santucci.
Present.
Brianna Adams.
Present.
J.L. Diaz.
Here.
Almost made it perfect. And Brian Trushinsky here. Okay, we do not have a student representative this evening. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you...
Oh, yes.
You bring donuts next time because you're late. Okay, if you could all stand, please face the flag, put your hand over your heart, and repeat after me, please, the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. You may seat. Important piece of business, we have come up to a brand new year, which means that it is, this evening we look to new positions on the MAC, positions for the chair, vice chair, and liaisons for our committee. First item will be the Oak Park chair. I'll just ask the members by show of hand who would like to be the chair for 2026. Just a show of hand.
Well, I'd like to nominate Michelle Santucci.
I'd like to find out first if there's others, because
Okay.
then we decide how we vote for more than one. Okay. So.
I second. You nominated, right? What
Okay.
is it?
It sounds like we just have one. Okay. So can I please have a motion?
I'd
Jane.
like to nominate Michelle Santucci for chair.
I second.
This
Oh,
year.
sorry.
Do I have a seconder, please?
Second the motion. for
Okay.
Michelle.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Abstain, and if you abstain, please state your reason for abstention. No abstentions. It's unanimous. Congratulations, Michelle. You are now the chair.
Yes!
I will now move. The gavel is yours. Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations, Michelle. Thank you so much.
You sit here in the middle.
Do we need to move?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's official.
It's official. Well, give us just a couple of minutes to get reorganized. Thank you.
Do you want your chair? It's
We'll
taller.
see. Yes, please.
Okay. This is the official switching of the chair. That's this inauguration. It's very ceremonial. It goes back probably almost 60 years.
Brian, is hers bigger because she's now the chairperson?
No, actually hers is.
All right. And I think this belongs to you or me.
That's you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I think we're ready to go. With that, thank you very much for your vote of confidence. It's been great working with all of you these past few years, and particularly this past year. And Brian, I'd like to commend you for all of your efforts and passion and dedication to the community, specifically to Medea Creek and the CSA 4 landscape project. So outstanding, and it's an honor to succeed you.
Thank you.
So with that, we're going to move on to the vice chair. Is there anyone who's interested in being vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Brianna Adams.
Thank you, Jane. I'd be honored.
I would like to second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Congratulations.
Yay!
Our new vice chair, Brianna Adams. All right, so now we're going to move on to the committee liaison appointments. appointments. We have several designations. One is the CSA for Landscape. Brian has been on that committee and led it for at least the past year, if not more. So is there anyone else who would be interested to chair that committee going forward?
Actually, I just wanted to announce, I do not wish to take that position for this year.
You say you did not.
I do not.
Is there anyone interested who would like to take over, pick up where Brian has led the charge?
Okay, I'll take it.
You'll take it?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Terrific. Thank you very much, JL.
Thank you, JL.
Okay, so moving on to the Oak Park Unified School District. Brianna has been the liaison for that. Would you like to continue, or is there anyone else who would like to do that?
I'd be happy to continue.
Terrific. Anyone else? Okay. All right, the next one is the Triumpho Water and Sanitation Board. Jane has been on leading that for a few years now. And would you like to continue?
I would like to continue because I attend the meetings anyway. Thank you.
Terrific. And the last one is the Oak Park Fire Safe Council. JL has been involved in that. Is there anyone else who would be interested in that?
I would. I would very much.
Okay. And I don't think we need a vote on this for the liaisons, correct?
No.
Okay, terrific. All right, thank you. That's wonderful, and thank you very much for volunteering. So the next item is the approval of the minutes of the November 20th, 25 meeting. Are there any, the council, you've all have that in your packet, and thank you very much, Crystal, for providing all of the information to us. A great job again. Are there any changes that the council would like to make? And I'll start with you, JL.
No comments.
Okay. Brianna?
No changes.
No changes.
No changes.
Terrific. And I have no changes as well.
So I'll move that we adopt the minutes from November 20th meeting.
And I'll second.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to the agenda review. Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions?
I
No.
abstain because I was not there last week.
Okay, thank you, JL. It carries. We're going to move on to item number 7, the agenda review and approval. You all have had that and had an opportunity to review it. Are there any changes or corrections to the agenda? I'll start with you, JL.
No corrections nor changes, Madam Chair.
Brianna?
No changes.
No changes.
No changes.
Okay. And I have a couple of corrections. One is on the consent agenda. There is a title for the Oak Park Tickler Log. It indicates it's for December 2025, and it should be January 2026. So recommend making that change. Also, under item number 11, one of the speaker names is spelled incorrectly. It is Hy, who is from the Ventura County Local Agency Formation Commission, or LAFCO. The correct last spelling is L-U-O-M-A. So we can make that correction. So with those changes, do I have a motion?
I'd move that the January 29, 2026 agenda be approved as amended by Chair Santucci.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. The next item is public comments. This is for any topics that the public would wish to speak on that is not already on the agenda. And if you have an interest in speaking, we would appreciate if you would fill out a comment card. It's in the back of the room. This is for general public comments. If you have comments for any of the agenda items, specifically item 11, where there is an opportunity for the public to speak, please list that also on the card, and we will call you at that time. So for general public comments, we have a few. So we're going to, because this is a very busy night, and we want to make sure we get to everything, especially on the topic of the CDC, we're going to limit the comments to 2 minutes per person, just so that we can get through the evening and give everybody an opportunity to speak. So the first person I will call up is Carolyn Cass-Barton. Thank you, Carolyn. Well, we're being live streamed, so I think those that are viewing would like to. Thank you, Crystal.
Yes.
I'm Carolyn Cass-Barton. I have lived on Smoke Tree for 46 years, so I'm very aware of our landscaping. I fought to save trees and fought to save a tree in Mayboyer Park, and now I'm very, very upset to find out when you, at corner of Smoke Tree and Canaan on the west side in the median, one of our big, beautiful trees has been cut down. I reached out to Michelle to find out why. I didn't see, as I drive by, I didn't see any activity there of any tree people, and I want to know why it was cut down. Apparently it's a big mystery. I think that if we have trees in our neighborhood, that any type of tree that needs to be removed should be brought before the MAC committee to find out exactly what's wrong with it and why it would need to be removed. This was a big shock. I'm very upset, and I'd like to find out why it was removed. And my husband has landscaping qualifications, and we stopped and looked at it, and there is no rot. There's no dry rot in the stump. Michelle apparently has pictures of it. So this is a very big conundrum. I don't know why it's been removed, and it was gorgeous. So anyway, that's what my concern is. So thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. And just for the public's awareness, the tree that is in reference was a mature olive tree with about a 30-inch diameter, excluding the above-ground root system. That, you know, I'm no expert. I'm not an arborist, but it looked very healthy from what I could see. It looked like it was professionally removed, and that equipment ground down the stump, and there was the shaving still left, and it was pretty cleaned up. So whoever did it also removed all of the debris as well. So this is in the 200 block of Canaan Road, and not in the center median, but in there's two medians on either side of Canaan before you get to the residences. It's on one of those. So it's been reported, and it's being investigated. Oh. Thank you. Thank you for keeping me honest. I'll get to you in just 1 minute. Thank you. I apologize. Thank you. So moving on, let's move back to number 8 on the approved consent items. And that was the correction to the log title. But do we have a motion to approve the consent items? And for time's sake, I'm not going to read all of the consent items that are listed in the agenda.
I move for the approval of the consent items.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to pull 8F,
8F.
which is the Oak Park CSA 4 monthly report.
Okay. So that's going to go under the regular agenda. Okay. Thank you, Brian. So with that change of pulling that item, do we have?
I'll second it.
Thank you very much.
We have a motion?
We had JL.
Oh, we haven't seconded?
I'll
Yeah, I
Motion,
seconded it.
Second, and,
JL moved.
Yes, I move it.
okay.
With
and-
Brian's edits.
And is all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Carolyn.
Yeah, there were several huge junipers in the center dividers also removed about 6, 8, 10 months ago. With, I don't know why they were removed. They've been since replanted with baby ones, but I don't know what, they were, looked very normal and very healthy to me, so I don't understand what's going on with the landscaping.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Joel Goldies, just wanted a clarification. I'm not sure if those were California olives and California juniper that we're looking at. So I know it can't be answered here, but it's a question as to whether the plants are alien or invasive.
No,
No.
46 years of being there, it's not alien.
I didn't know there was a native California olive tree, so I wondered if it was a fire issue. I'm not sure. I'm sure it's full of oil.
It's all along there, it's not a fire issue.
Sorry, I was trying to get the question answered tonight, with all due respect, Ms. Cass. Posing the question so it gets in the minutes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to continue on with public comments, and the next person, Brian Matson. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. I came tonight, by the way, Mariposa is out trimming trees. They've been out for the last week and a half at least, so they may be the ones that took your tree down. The reason I came out tonight was to talk about signage, especially at the corner of Canaan and Lindero, our landmark signs. In the shopping centers, there's all sorts of signs. There's a sign for the new nail shop, there's a sign for the new I don't know if it's, what type of 24-hour operation. And there's been a leasing sign that somehow the county approved right there at the corner. And as you drive into Oak Park, it looks like Oak Park is for lease because of this leasing sign. I'm not sure how many leasing signs the shopping center needs, but they've got two, one at the entrance, and it would be nice if they could move the other one to the other entrance. I'm sure anybody looking for, space will find it there, and then the monument signs will be back to normal. But I did send Brian an email. The other thing is Capri just recently painted their entire complex, and I don't know if anybody noticed the signs on Lindero, but they put up 3 huge signs advertising the painting contractor, and luckily those have been removed. But I think we're getting a little off on our signage. I'm not sure who from code enforcement needs to look at that, but the shopping centers, the Subway's got a sign that's all ripped and it's been there for months, and if I was the owner of the Subway, I'd have a little more pride in my business than leaving a ripped up sign there. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. The next public speaker, R.L. Miller. Hello.
Hello, thank you.
Hello. Thank you for all your service to the community. I put 2 items on the agenda. Am I supposed to talk on both of them at the same time?
Is this, these are under general comments that are not on the agenda? You can,
Sure.
Yes.
First one has to do with Bishopsgate Road, which is the access road paralleling Deer Hill, connecting Regency Chambord, or Regency with the Doubletree Road. Bishopsgate Road is supposed to be openable by fire people, and it was blocked by a couple of locks. And so I'm wondering if anybody has figured out what's going on or taken a bolt cutter to the locks or otherwise gotten an answer, because the locks are still there.
we have, and it is on the Oak Park MAC tickler log. I believed it was closed, that item, after we received information from the county. I'm sorry, I don't
The fire
recall.
department does have
The keys, yeah.
to the locks, and they'll take care of it if there's an evacuation needed.
Okay, okay,
But they did say that they would take care of it.
okay, as long as the fire department knows what's going on. And then my second question has to do with Lake Paranick, the swamp sitting at Canaan and Deer Hill. Rancho Simi has put in a Band-Aid fix that has lowered the level of the swamp, but the swamp is still sitting there. And I'm wondering if, I think I've seen something from one of the Oak Park MAC members that you guys are looking into it, and I'm wondering if there's any kind of update on that.
Which one is that again?
Lake Paranick is what I call the swamp at the bottom of, at Canaan and Deer Hill.
Oh,
The area was dry, and I think there was a drainage outlet, and over the years, it got clogged up, and it's grown since the rains of 2022-23, and then when it overflows, it washes out the trail. The Rancho Simi people keep on going out there to fix the erosion on the trail, but they're not addressing the swamp or the drainage.
We, as a MAC, reached out through Supervisor Gurl's office, who reached into Public Works to the Transportation Department, and Etha Balin, who did send a crew out and investigate. And first and foremost, it's not in the county's jurisdiction or right away. It's
Rancho
definitely
Simi's.
Rancho Simi. It is important for us to appreciate that the Oak Park MAC does not have any jurisdiction with Rancho Simi. So while your concern is important and valid, you would need to be addressing that with the Rancho Simi Board of Directors on that. We have no jurisdiction as to ask them to do anything.
But be that as it may, thank you for bringing that concern to us, because we have a representative from Rancho, Eric, who's also here, that could help us fix, or at least directionally give us some solution to that.
Suffice to say that we'll have words on Rancho Simi's general care or lack thereof of Oak Park later on. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Laurel.
you.
Okay, the next speaker is Joel Golds? Goldie, sorry.
No worries. Thanks for making it. Sorry, just starting my timer.
I got one too.
Oh, thank you. Brian, will you give us a 15-second warning?
Yes, I will.
Thanks. Sorry, Jay, I didn't mean to ignore you on the, thanking you for the time getting to the Fire Safe Council. Appreciate that. And now we start.
Oh, sure.
Thank you. My name is Joel Goldies. I'm an Oak Park resident. I'd like to give a public thank you to Oak Park High School student Abiyan Lahiri for publicizing creek and invasive plant removal event that we're doing through Friends of Oak Park Open Space. He sent an email blast to the National Honor Society and to some other folks in the high school, and we've got about a dozen excited high school kids coming out. We're going to do invasive plant removal Sunday 9 to 12, and going in reverse order, crayfish removal, exciting, and picking up litter, won't that be fun, on Saturday 9 to 12. Full information on Oak Park, Friends of Oak Park OpenSpace.org or something. Wanted to mention front yards and security. All the homes in the Montego tract are built, only one model out of 4 has a kitchen window that faces the street. A wise person once said that when the windows of the house do not face the street belongs to the criminals. My across the street neighbor had someone rifle through their glove compartment 2 days ago. So another neighbor reconstructed their front yard recently and put sitting space out in front. If we hang out in our front yards, folks aren't going to be going up and down the streets looking for things to break into, mailboxes, trucks, taking things, crimes of opportunity, so to speak. So please think about that as you think about fireproofing your home, increasing your fire defense, sitting in the front yard, making space so we can use it. How am I doing, Brian?
Half a minute.
Okay. I'd like to give a shout out to whoever got the county to trim some eucalyptus trees in the Capris right on Rockfield. And a negative shout out to Treescapes, the landscaper in Montego, who seems to be doing busy work by cutting oak trees when we have lots of invasive eucalyptus and pine trees that are full of oils, which I understand are quite explosive. So we'd rather have them trimming those. I just would like to get that into the minutes, please. There
10
is
seconds.
a swamp developing on Medea Creek. I may be out of time. Just south of Oak Hills Drive. At least 20 invasive Washingtonia palms growing right in the creek, and the creek is stopped up as a result. Makes a lovely swamp. I'm not sure it's great for the property values, nor for the fire safety of the homes to the southwest of that. Thank you very much. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. And just, I have a question. You mentioned Treescapes as the landscape company that was trimming oak trees. Is that correct?
Did I say their name? Oh, I meant to keep that confidential. Yes, I spoke with a Montego HOA member today, and that person told me that they have gone out and seen Treescapes doing busy work to trim the oak trees, sort of, I thought, to earn their money. And she said they were ignoring the invasive eucalyptus and invasive Norfolk Island pines, which are huge and it seems to be highly explosive. But I'm no expert. Ed. No.
All right, thank you. That is all the public speaker cards that were presented. Just want to check in. Are there any other members who would be interested in speaking in the general public comments? Terrific. We are ahead of schedule. Makes me very happy. All right, so with that, then we are going to move on to the regular agenda. And first up is Eric Lundstrom with Rancho, and he's going to give us an update.
Yeah, ADAC comes first.
Oh,
You
do you want to do that
Okay.
first or
Sure.
after? You want to do that now?
I'll do that now.
Okay,
Sure.
thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. On item F, it states here the Oak Park CSA, which Community Service Area 4 monthly report, January 2026. On the second page, and I'm looking here, it's called Sweeping Corp of America, our street sweeping, or the Public Works' street sweeping vendor contractor. And I just needed a clarification. It goes from July to January. There's 2 September entries, and both have the same codification, CA 2500-2258, but they have 2 different values, $3,960 and $8,989.20. Every month was a single entry, but September has 2 with the same codification. And I'm trying to understand what where the $3,960, what it applies to. What service did we get for that? Or is it an error?
We can look into that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Brian. So now we'll move on to Eric, who'll give us an update, Rancho.
Test? Yeah. For those of you that don't know me, I am the Rancho Simi Recreation Park District Director for the Oak Park and the Wood Ranch area over to the 118 freeway. So I'm here to represent you guys, and come every month I try to come and speak to the MAC and let them know some of the good stuff that we got going on. And real recently we had a changing of the guard ourselves, and Brian Dennert has now taken over as our board chair, and Kim Cofield, who is also a new board director like myself in this last year, she is now going to be our vice chair. With that, we also passed the budget calendar itself, and that is available on the website itself for the 2026-2027 fiscal year. So if you're looking for dates of when we're going to be talking about the finances. We also recently had at our last board meeting a discussion, and in the consent calendar we talked about having a temporary easement deed with the Ventura County Watershed Protection District for installation, operation, and maintenance of 2
stormwater quality monitoring stations. The monitoring stations will be located along Lindero Creek within the Wistful Vista open space. And it's kind of located east of Lindero near Rhapsody Drive. Ultimately, they're going to do some studies. They have that easement will be for 5 years. It will be extendable for another 5 years after that for them to do some studies. The watershed district is paying for that easement about $1,250 for the 5-year period of time. So, but they're going to study it, and that data will come to us also, and so we'll be able to kind of see what kind of water is going into the streams, what type of chemicals are going into the creek beds, and then ultimately down from, if you don't know, Lindero Creek area and the Medio Creek area ultimately works its way down into the Malibu Creek stream system and down into the Malibu Creek Lagoon. So ultimately we want to try to keep the environment as clean as possible, right? So with that, 2 exciting things. Okay, so I've been on for a year and pushing, and ultimately Dan Paranek is here with us. He is our Park District General Manager. He has worked tirelessly to work with all of the other organizations to get everybody on board. And so we have now started the process where we hired a company called SGD Enterprises, also known as Four Seasons Landscaping, for the Medea Creek Maintenance Project number 1. It's going to be the removal of invasive vegetation, debris, and dead wood in Oak Park. So that's the starting of this whole process. We have set aside, gotten grants of over $3 million, and that is now going to be starting up. With that being said, we also signed a contract with Envicom Corporation for Resource Agency Permit Compliance Services for the Medea Creek Maintenance Project number 1. So that goes along with what we were concerned about, what you had been talking about, having somebody there while the construction crews are working to make sure that they're doing and pulling the right things. So they're going to do some education for the maintenance crew, and they have to do some extra reports first and then go in afterwards and do some extra reports afterwards. So this is the starting of the whole process of working our way all the way down the Medea Creek area. Again, I talked about the grants from the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy and CAL FIRE totaling about $3.3 million. With that, we also have phase 1, which is going to be the portion of the creek from Canaan to Oak Hills. That currently is in the bidding process. The phase 2, that's the portion of the creek from Doubletree to Conifer. And phase 3, which is preliminary, the Lindero Creek area. And those are in the environmental and permitting phases right now. So we're moving forward, which is a really good thing, and it's all exciting. I'm excited for it, so hopefully you guys are too. Ultimately, the project delivers the fire mitigation also for homes within 100 feet of Medea Creek. That totals about 75 different homes that are in that area. 2 other things I've been working on this last year, and we have, as a board, made sure that we have created we have the finance committee, and we're pushing forward. We did 2 meetings in the last probably 4 months out here in Oak Park to talk to everybody about the budget and the costs and things like that, so everybody has a better understanding of where the dollars flow. When we write that check to the county, how does it come back for Simi residents and for Oak Park? So the finance committee, we have 2 board members on that, so that'll be myself and Ed Abil. So the 2 of us will be running that meeting and making sure that ultimately the goal is, as a finance guy working for an aerospace company, I want to make sure that we have the right tools that we're using to not only watch the money, but to disseminate that information. So when you log in, you can see where the money's at and why is it being spent. So that ultimately is that transparency part of what we're trying to do. And so staff is working with us to try to make sure that we're kind of moving with the years and the new technology and things like that. So we're going to be having some conversations about that. On February 12th, we have a meeting at the Rancho Simi offices. That'll be our first meeting, Ed and I together. Then the other one, which is really exciting, to make sure that Oak Park residents have their voice. And I know it hasn't been heard in a while. So that Oak Park Committee has been formed by Rancho Simi Recreation Park District. Brian Dennert and myself will be the chairs of that, and we'll make sure that we have we're the ear for you guys to come and talk. We'll do some presentations of things that are going on in the Oak Park area, and ultimately allow you that opportunity to tell us things that are going on. Tell us if there's a creek that's flooding that has been blocked that we didn't know about, or if we have some trees that are starting to look horrible that need to be cleaned up or something else like that. So that's what that committee is for you guys to have a voice to tell us, so then we can take that to the rest of the board and to staff and listen and let you know that we are here to try to do better and whatever we can. So that Oak Park Committee meeting is going to be held at the Community Center, the Buena Vista Room, on February 19th at 5:30 p.m. Okay? So, and last but not least, which is ultimately what the Park District is really about, is making sure that people have a good time. And the Martin Luther King Day of Service was held, and the Rancho Simi put together 7 different projects, and 3 of them were here in Oak Park. Deer Hill Park and Oak Canyon Community Park, there was curb painting. I think it was some red paint on the curbs to make sure that those were cleaned up. And then the Oak Park Community Center, the front garden bed beautification that they had worked on. So I thank all the volunteers that did come out to help out with that. And last but not least, Oak Park Wellness Festival is March 21st from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. over at the community park. And it's a day of wellness, connection, and community. You're going to connect with local health and lifestyle vendors, enjoy guided wellness sessions, and it says bring a yoga mat, a towel, sunscreen, and water. And they're also still accepting vendor applications, and you can get that on the district's website, rsrpd.org, and you navigate to the special events, and if you're interested in doing something like that too. So that is it.
Where's that located?
Over at the community center.
Okay.
So, excuse me, Oak Canyon Community Park.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you. All right, so.
Thank you. So those are terrific updates. Really appreciate all. That's a great way to start the year.
Yes.
Before you leave, we want to give the opportunity to the council to see if they have any questions.
Sure.
Yes.
So
That's what I'm here for.
Start with JL.
Yes, thank you very much, Eric, for those 2 finance meetings that you did last year. Very, very informative. And I would like to also extend my sincerest gratitude for creating this new Oak Park Committee that will hear our voices, like what you said. So pursuant to this, Madam Chair, I would like to create a new liaison office where an Oak Park MAC member will attend that particular meeting of the group that Eric mentioned. So yeah, I would like to get that idea to the board and to see what you guys think.
And either way, let me just add to that. The intent of that whole committee is kind of an idea that I had as in Simi Valley, they have what they call neighborhood councils. And it's open to all community members. So you don't have to be a board member to show up to these meetings. You come and you can listen in, and if you have a concern or a question, you can raise it and everything. So, but ultimately that's everybody's invited. So.
That is true. But because this is a very important committee, and I think this should be something that we should attend, I would recommend creating a liaison office for which one of us will attend. So
it's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Okay. Do we need a?
I have a question.
You have a
Yeah.
question regarding that?
Question to the presenter.
Okay. Can we go
Yep.
to Brianna next?
I don't have any questions. Thank you for the update.
You're welcome.
Great. Okay.
There, a couple questions.
Yeah.
phase one, what's the estimated time of beginning the work?
From what I understand, the environmental, who is it, the resource, gotta make sure I say, Enviacom Corporation, they have to do a couple reports first before both actions represent forward momentum towards responsible mitigation. So they have to do a couple reports first. I think what they have to do is they have to go out and study the area first. They have to look for like birds and if there's any nesting and things like that. So they're doing their report first. So they haven't given us the date when that's done and then the crew can start and everything. So, but I'm sure it's going to be real soon. Real soon,
Couple of months.
as in a date. I don't have a specific date for you
They're
yet,
good, but they're not.
but I'm feeling confident. So,
Phase two, the double-treated conifer,
yeah,
that's right now in the environmental, or in the permitting through California Department of Fish and Wildlife through the alteration stream agreement, I would take it. When that time comes forward or gets closer, I just want to remind you that the MAC, we're into our second year of a work plan that the Ventura County Board of Supervisors requires all MACs to have.
okay,
And one of our flagship, or one of our important work plan items is the long-range management plan for Medea Creek. And we've been having meetings. We now have, if you will, a project partnership with Rancho Simi, Ventura County Fire Department, Ventura County Watershed Protection District, Friends of Oak Park. And so it's a bit of a slow process to some people because it's an unfunded project.
Yeah.
So everyone's kind of giving some time on their own at work and that,
Sure.
making it happen. It is pretty comprehensive, and it's looking at a lot of things besides invasives. It's looking at its future. So when we get closer to that period where you're going to maybe create a scope of work or go out for bids or something, it'd be great if you could come back because we can start to share the plan with you of what it is so that what we're already starting to create, the crews aren't destroying.
gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
No,
all.
no worries. Yeah, I know you've worked hard with them and putting together a good plan and everything. So,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. Jane, do you have any comments or questions?
No, thank you for coming out again, and also for reinstating that committee, the Oak Park Committee. That's really exciting. And I agree with JL that it would be great if we added that to our liaison list officially. So we formalize it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
And I would like to just say thank you very much as well. If there's one topic that if I were to ask the community when I see them, what's on your mind? What could we do better? It's always about Medea Creek, nothing else. Everybody thinks the parks look great. There's plenty of dog poop bags, all of that. The crew, the local crew does a fabulous job, as well as the administrative staff when I reach out to them. But Medea Creek is the single one thing that everybody is obviously very concerned about, particularly when it comes to fire hazard. So thank you very much, and we'll open it up to some public comments next. So I'm going to go to Joel because he's had his hand up for a little bit.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much, Eric. This all sounds fantastic. I do love the idea of a liaison to the Parks Board through the MAC.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Information is power. I wonder if, since you're here, I can raise the question of these invasive Washingtonia palms, south of Oak Hill Drive, where the swamp has been created. I prefer not to give the swamp a name. I'm not sure that's the most respectful thing to do.
Right.
And we all want to work together in this and be friendly.
Yes.
So that would be great. We also have tons of Washingtonia palms on Lindero Creek. No offense to any gingers in the house, but the redheaded stepchild of the watershed of Oak Park. There's a huge stand of Washingtonia palms, which may be just out of the purview of the Parks District, just north of the golf course on Lindero Canyon Road.
Yeah.
So I want to keep the awareness about those.
Okay.
Our next fire, those are going up like skyrockets.
Yeah.
So I think we want to be aware of those. Thank you
Sure.
very much.
That's if I can respond to, because ultimately the concerns, ultimately, I understand the concerns, and it's more about a frustration with the extra buildup of the water. I just, this last Sunday, went over to take another look at it and saw what the temporary fix to try to lower that water level. Wayne had gone out with staff to try to put in a couple conduits to drain it as much as possible, but it's still, there looks like there's about 5 feet of water still sitting in there, which is pretty crazy. Now, that pathway, if anybody understands, back in the day, okay, remember, this community's been around for 50 years, right? So when it was built, I believe it was Cayugas Water District has an easement, and that's what that little trail is. And in that trail is a large water pipe. And so they couldn't lower it any further than where those 2 conduits are. So there's kind of a trying to figure out the nuances of how do we do it, how do we do it right, make sure it's not gonna happen again. And I've had some conversations about if there's a way to put a little waterfall effect in there, you know, where you can drain it, because that ultimately was a natural stream bed until the communities were built up there. Now remember, when you have those curbs and gutters, the water hits and it rolls right down in there. After the big fires, I believe there's a drainage somewhere down in there. I would think that when they built that in the beginning, they probably had a big drain pipe. My guess, it's been clogged, and we just don't know exactly where it's at. So we gotta drain it a little bit more. I put a request into Wayne to see if we can get a pump just to remove that water so we can get down in there put our feet in the water if we needed to, and see how much debris is built up over the number of years, right? So once we can figure that out, then we can create that corrective action plan and look into seeing what we can do down the road. So we are looking at it, and we hear you, and we'll see what we can do to correct it and everything, so.
Okay. The next speaker, Tom? Okay, I'll get to you.
I just wanted to say, one big thing I do believe in, big fan of his. One of the big problems in Ed Park is in the Churchwood area, Calvary Court, where the fire hit really hard in 2018. Many of those homes have lost their fire insurance due to the pine trees.
Oh, okay.
I have come many times, and this board has been wonderful. They have no fire insurance. They had to go with California State because trees are too close to their homes.
Okay,
Those yards are small. I am a tree lover. I am.
Me too.
70 generation, but the right tree.
yeah,
Pine trees are not the right trees for any cutting. I've done all my research. I've gone to every meeting. They are right against these homes. They don't have enough distance. Farmers drop so many houses there, as did other insurance companies. Please, it is not only our lives, our wildlife, and everything else. These are children that are terrified. Every time sirens say we have to leave, those trees have to be removed. Plant the right damn tree. I have been begging for this. I'm not against trees. Put in the right one. He brought how we can plant little oaks, flag them. We have the
Sure.
hillside behind Churchwood. With all the rain that we had this year, next year that's a disaster.
yeah.
I raised on my own with other people $18,000 to bring sheep in. I can't keep doing that every year. And every time we ask for is there any money, we got big grants. We don't have.
15 seconds.
Confirm everything, Ron.
Okay,
So please,
okay.
all I ask.
I hear you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Tom?
Quick,
Yeah,
your phase 2 goes to Conifer.
I believe so. Phase 2, Doubletree to Conifer is what they're saying.
Okay, there's a large portion from Conifer to the LA County line. Is that included in your proposal? Are you going to work on that?
I'll-
It's a big part of the agreement.
I'll find out. So from Conifer to the LA County line. Okay,
It's a large part of the agreement.
Which I believe
Very
is
important.
the street there, the bridge,
I think it's Tamarind.
Tamarind, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Conifer to Tamarind,
Equipment is the LA County.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Agora line.
yeah.
okay, yeah, we'll look at that.
Because that would be, for you to do all what you're going to do on the Deer Creek and then ignore that.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
What's going on here?
I know.
So we do need to wrap up so we can make sure we have plenty of time
It's-
for our
it's
main
your meeting.
presentation.
You're in control.
Thank you so very much, and thanks
Congratulations
for
to
everybody's
both of you, by
comments.
the way.
Thank you
So-
very much. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and just one last word. On the Park District website is the board members' contact information, either via email. I have my cell phone on there since I'm your representative. If you need to reach out to me, feel free to. You can send me a text message. If you want to call, leave the message. Don't just call and then hang up if you don't get through. But I will do my best to try to get back to you and see what I can do to help out. So, okay?
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move on to agenda item number 11, which is the presentation of the proposal to establish an Oak Park Community Services District. We have 3 presenters. They have some time limits, and then following the presentations, we'll open it up for public comment. A maximum total of the public comments will be 30 minutes. So depending on how many people are interested in speaking, again, that'll probably be limited to 2 minutes per person. So with that, we're going
We
to,
should move.
I think we have to
Can
move.
it be
Okay.
placed on the screen?
okay. So we're going to welcome up Mark Perryman, who's going to kick it off. And in the meantime, while he's coming out, we'll be going up.
Does that help with the lights off or not? Is that okay?
I think that looks okay.
Mic check. Can everybody hear me? Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for coming out to the Oak Park Municipal Advisory Council meeting. It's an important meeting of the community, and it's a great time for Oak Park. So there's a lot to talk about today. I only have 15 minutes. There's a number of other community meetings that are available. We can chat about those to allow for more opportunity for discussion. A couple quick things, just a quick disclaimer, which is really important before we get going here. The materials that are shared today reflect a draft analysis and are not final. Findings, assumptions may change as we receive additional financial information, outstanding responses, and complete a review of existing district service area documentation. As part of due diligence, the Formation Committee is currently reviewing approximately 600 pages of records prior to finalizing and submitting formal district formation requirements. Your feedback's welcomed and encouraged to help improve the structure of services for your community. Please do email us at the info@oakparkcommunityservicesdistrict.org for more information or to participate further. So I think before we get going here, there's a lot to cover. It's what is this and where are we in the process? And there's a lot of very important questions the community has had. We're really right at the beginning. At the end of last year, there was a lot of community organization and discussion around a lot of concerns that kind of brought to this moment in time. And ultimately, we submitted Public Records Act requests to start due diligence, to understand all operations in the district, everything from within Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District, as well as the county service area, as well as county-specific capabilities, including a separate assessment that exists for the Ventura County Library System for this community. So we're in that due diligence process. It's where we are today. We are reviewing information. Nothing is final, nothing is solid. And by the way, it won't be final until ultimately you vote on this. And there's plenty of opportunities in between that we could talk about. You can see up next, after we complete due diligence, within kind of that process, there's some community meetings and discussions of services and whether or not this makes sense. And when we say whether or not it makes sense, it's which services make sense and at what point in time, if it makes sense at all. And so we're taking a look at all of that. There's some really encouraging information that we've found out, and happy to share that. After that's completed, we'll submit LAFCO's requirements that they have as a part of an application. Once LAFCO completes a review of that, a petition circulation will actually occur. We'll attempt to capture 25% signatures of the registered voters in this community. After that, there's a commission process and a protest period, and I took a sneak peek at LAFCO's deck, and I believe they've got a little bit more on that, so I'll save that for Kai, and thank you, Kai, for being here. A couple quick notes here. these are just high-level steps in the process. There's quite a bit more involved. But these are the high-level steps that we're representing. Kai will cover some more of them that exist as well, but you can get the flavor of what's ahead here. Another quick disclaimer. This is an uncomfortable topic. We have a county service area for a number of years. We have a park district for a number of years. During that time, there's been a lot of amazing work, and there's a lot of incredible people that are working for the park district and the county. This is not a reflection on them in any way, shape, or form. And I think it's important to discuss that up front. And I would also just want to thank the Park District as well as the county for their working with us and providing all information as a part of this process. However, there's uncomfortable topics that we have to talk about of why a community services district is even being considered. And through a lot of community meetings and over the last 20 years, these are some of the themes that have come up. And this is specifically for County Service Area 4 within Oak Park. So consistent, long-standing community concerns include inappropriate and poorly planned landscape decisions. I think you heard a little bit of that tonight, but there's quite a bit more that's occurred in the past as well. Delayed and inconsistent follow-through on issues, limited opportunities for meaningful resident input or feedback, insufficient budget transparency and long-term financial clarity, no locally elected, directly accountable governance for CSA4 residents. Multiple layers of bureaucracy that slow maintenance and corrective action, structural mismanagement and ineffective financial planning. I think the quote from Public Works that we received in the Ventura County Star was, "Reserves will be entirely depleted in 4 years." Accordingly, if all the reserves are depleted in 4 years, these are your services that you expect today. So these are your crossing guards, this is your Canaan shuttle, this is landscaping services. And if you look at the structural deficit that exists there, it's about $400,000, at least based upon the current information I have. But accordingly, without a new tax assessment or some other kind of revenue source, service reductions or service elimination would have to occur. Otherwise, how else does the CSA continue? And so this is this is an inflection point for the community of if this is where we are and in 4 years' time, services will be impacted unless there's a new tax assessment, we have to have a conversation. And this is the beginning of that conversation. Next is something that the community actually spoke to me about years ago when I worked for Ventura County Supervisor Linda Parks around 2011. Concerns about the Recreation and Park District. This is something that's been going on for quite some time. Insufficient, dependable funding for wildfire fuel reduction. That's a big one, especially right now when folks' fire insurance is getting canceled. Beyond cancellations, increases insurance as well. Folks going on the FAIR plan, which is unfunded, or underfunded rather. Delayed and inconsistent follow-through on issues, limited opportunities for meaningful resident input or feedback, insufficient budget transparency and long-term financial clarity, no locally elected, directly accountable governance for RSRPD Oak Park residents. We thank Eric for being here. He's doing a stellar job, but we don't have a 5-member board that's of Oak Park residents that are leading the issues that you care about. And that's the inflection point here. Multiple layers of bureaucracy that slow maintenance and corrective action. I think that the water issue that was mentioned a little bit earlier, that's been discussed for a matter of months now. And on the CSA side, there's items that have been going on for years. Bottom line for Rancho Simi is they did an excellent job in the Finance Committee meetings, providing some transparency in terms of where things are. But the last point exists. A new tax assessment modeling has started, and initial numbers were shared with the community. There's going to be likely a new assessment for this community to maintain existing services just to keep it afloat. So we have 2 separate entities, the CSA4 in the Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District that have some structural challenges financially and some historical challenges in management and lots of layers of bureaucracy. So what do we do? Well, I put a poll up November 7th on the Oak Park Public Facebook group and asked the community. And granted, while there's 56 votes on this, if you look at polling, historically, you can use this information to directionally understand where the community's interests are. And the options that were listed here were keeping the existing structure with higher tax assessments and no local control, meaning keeping everything the same, but having higher taxes. Or do you want to create a community services district with local control, replacing Rancho Simi and the CSA taxes while funding wildfire brush clearance administration? 90% of the community participated in this. It's actually a little bit higher if you look into the folks that responded to this poll. There's a couple people in the no's that are actually Westlake Village residents, at least at the time that I looked at this. I think there's one person that might have voted on the 90% side too. So it's a little bit higher, but directionally, this is some important information. And so we started having community meetings and discussions, a lot of them. 16 informal community meetings, over 129 Oak Park community members have been providing feedback into this process. Participation in informal feedback has been received from nearly every major Oak Park community organization. Now, notwithstanding that, I tend to learn about new community organizations every day, so if you have one and we've missed your group, let's have a conversation. There's been multiple letters to the editor and news articles published with little to any negative community response. So what are we talking about? What is this? Today, what your Community Services District Formation Committee is looking at is the following, is dissolving the County Service Area 4 and taking all the services, taxes, that are collected for that and effectuating it through a community services district with a 5-member Oak Park elected board. Within Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District, we would be detaching from the Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District. We wouldn't be the first time that this has happened. Bell Canyon several years ago detached from the Park District, Moore Park detached from the Park District as well. And there's another use case I'm forgetting, but maybe Kai will remember it. There's one more. I'm forgetting it. Sorry to put you on the spot, Kai. County of Ventura, there are specific and designated services, not all, that the Community Services District Formation Committee are looking at to see if it makes sense to be administered locally. That way it's easier for you as residents to get the services that you need right within your community and holding your local elected officials accountable. Finally, the Ventura County Library System. This community, we've discovered, pays about $480,000 a year in property taxes that goes to the Ventura County Library System. In discussing with many community members, they're not upset. They're very upset with the level of service that exists at the library today. Everything from periodicals that exist, books, hours of operation, etc. And while they do a fairly stellar job with the resources they have, there's quite a bit of your tax dollars that are going to a system. You're not getting those dollars back. So a discussion point that is occurring is, does it make sense to detach from the Ventura County Library System, and in doing so, recover the totality of your property taxes that instead of going to a library system would come back to support a library here. A couple of quick things, because I have to provide a legal disclaimer here. So the information provided is directional in nature. This is not final by any stretch. It's subject to completed due diligence, which we're in the middle of, and of course, all the official LAFCO processes. Completing a takeover of CSA4, detachment of RSRPD, and the Ventura County Library System are contemplated, but are not final. And not all services are included here, and the community here will ultimately approve the Community Services District by election. So this is not something that's going into effect tomorrow. This is not something that has to go into effect if this community does not want it, but it seems like directionally this is the path so far. Thank you. So some due diligence status. We've we're going through all the assets, liabilities, operations, and budgets of CSA 4, Rancho Simi, the library system, and the county services provided within Oak Park. We actually received all the library documents yesterday, so they're not included in that 600 document or 600 page count note. The review is intended to ensure any proposal that we advance is fiscally sound and operationally feasible. We wouldn't push something forward if it didn't make sense. As an example, early on, we had suggested perhaps taking a look at sheriff services. We looked at the property tax dollars that were there. A member of our committee spoke with the sheriff. Turns out that the dollars this community provides for sheriff services are less than the actual quantity of services that the community receives. There's a whole dedicated sheriff's beat out here. It's about $1.4 million of an operation, 24/7, 365. Your property tax dollars are about $580,000. So you're getting a dedicated sheriff out here that really is being subsidized in other ways. We're continuing to do this due diligence. We've received all kinds of property tax data as well, so more to come. We have to complete this analysis, and once this analysis is done, we'll share it. And of course, if you want to participate in that process, we welcome you to be a part of that. I think Kai will have a couple of things about what is a community services district, but a couple just quick notes here. This is a form of local government that's authorized by state law. It's established to provide locally controlled municipal services in unincorporated communities specifically. The governance is led by a 5-member locally elected board of directors here in Oak Park, possesses independent authority over all budgets, service levels, and long-term planning. And why communities form CSDs is to establish local control rather than relying on layered governance, increasing fiscal responsibility, improving service accountability, et cetera. The last thing I'll leave you with is there are several other community services districts in California. There are actually 325 community services districts in California. Famous ones you're probably aware of, so this isn't us inventing the wheel or reinventing the wheel. Cambria, 1976, they actually provide similar services to what's contemplated here. Discovery Bay, Big Bear, Pebble Beach actually has its own law enforcement. North Star, et cetera. So that's the presentation for today. There's a lot more to cover, provide a high-level view, but if you'd like to get involved, if you'd like to learn more about this, we welcome your participation and feel free to email us. Thank you.
Well, lots of great information, and I'm sure that has caused some new questions to be formed. So we're going to bring up the representative from LAFCO. And Kai Luamo, did I pronounce your name correctly? Okay, you can say correctly. Thank you very much.
I go by Kai, it's easier. All right, well, thank you for inviting me. I've got a lot of information and not a whole lot of time, so I'm going to go fairly quickly through this. I'll go over that. Oh, sure. Causing problems already. And no? Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm Kai. I'm the executive officer for Ventura LAFCO, and I've been asked to provide what it says up here, an introduction to and an overview of LAFCO, just to give you that broad overview of what LAFCO is and what we do. And then I'm going to look at we'll provide an overview of the formation process for a community services district. And I know this process involves 2 other actions by LAFCO, a dissolution and a detachment. But because it involves a formation, the law requires us to use that as the primary process that we have to follow. So we're following a formation process for a CSD here. So I'm going to start off with what is LAFCO, then who is LAFCO, what are the purposes of LAFCO, and how does LAFCO achieve those purposes? We'll start off with what is LAFCO. So what does LAFCO stand for? It stands for Local Agency Formation Commission. And this is somewhat of a misnomer because we do not form local agencies all that often. I think in the 20 years, almost 20 years I've been with Ventura LAFCO, there's been 2 formations. What we typically do is boundary changes, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So LAFCOs, there's a LAFCO in every county. So that means there's 58 counties, so there's 58 LAFCOs. We are an independent, and when I say we, I'm talking the commission, okay? The commission is the ultimate authority with LAFCO, not me. So LAFCOs are an independent quasi-legislative agency. That means that LAFCO decisions are final. They cannot be appealed. We are truly independent. We're not part of the county. We're not, we are truly independent. We function more as a state agency, though, because we operate under state law and we apply state law at the local level here in the county. That law is Government Code Section 56,000. It's a really long name. I won't even go into it. We just refer to it as LAFCO law. So that's the law that we operate under and gives us our authority. The State Court of Appeals has called LAFCO the watchdog that was established by the state legislature to achieve the legislature's purposes. That's who empowers LAFCO, the legislature. So who is LAFCO? LAFCO commissioners, it's an array of elected officials, essentially. So on Ventura LAFCO, and on most well, on all LAFCOs in the state, there are 2 county board of supervisors and then 1 alternate supervisor. There are 2 city council members, and these council members can sit on the councils of any of the cities within within the county. And they're chosen by a committee made up of all of the mayors of the city. So they choose 2 city council members to sit on LAFCO, and then they choose an alternate city council member. Same with independent special districts. So the independent special districts, they designate 2 members on LAFCO and an alternate. And then these 6 commissioners choose a member of the public to sit on the commission and 1 alternate. So all 7 commissioners, their vote counts just the same as every other one. So the current makeup of our LAFCO, the 2 board supervisors are Supervisor Jeff Gorell from this district and Janice Parvin from District 4 with Supervisor Levere from District 1 as the alternate. City council members, we have Jenny Crosswhite from the city of Santa Paula, Bert Perello with the city of Oxnard, and Susan Santangelo is the alternate from Camarillo. Independent special districts, we have Raul Avila from the Calleguas Municipal Water District and Chris Stevens from the Ventura Port District, with Mohammed Hassan as the alternate from United. And the public members are Gene Talmadge with the alternate Joe Pachowski. When these individuals are sitting on LAFCO, they have to wear what is commonly referred in the LAFCO community as their LAFCO hat. What this means is that when they are sitting as a commissioner, they do not represent the agency upon which they are elected to serve. So they do not represent special districts. Our special district members do not represent special districts, nor their home district. Our city members do not represent their cities, and the county members do not represent the county or their supervisorial districts. All commissioners must work on behalf of the interests of the residents, property owners, and the public as a whole throughout the county. They can consider impacts to their city or their supervisorial district, but they don't represent them. And again, they must work to further the purposes of LAFCO. That's when they are up there, this is their expectation. LAFCO staff, there's me, there's our deputy executive officer, Andrea, and we have an office manager. That's it. That's LAFCO staff. You're looking at 2/3 of them right here. The commission does contract with the county counsel's office. So their LAFCO legal counsel is the chief assistant county counsel, and that's Jeff Barnes. So that's it. So what are the purposes of LAFCO? Well, they're laid out specifically in LAFCO law, and the purposes are that we are to discourage urban sprawl, preserve open space and prime agricultural lands, encourage the efficient provision of government services, and encourage orderly formation and development of local agencies based on local conditions and circumstances. How does LAFCO achieve these purposes? They're pretty broad purposes. We are given specific authorities. We have oversight over the 10 cities in the county, the 29 independent special districts in the county, and the 19 dependent special districts in the county. And so what kind of oversight is that? Well, it's a lot, actually. So our primary duties when it applies to the cities and special districts is that we coordinate the logical and timely jurisdictional boundary changes, and I'll talk about that more in just a sec. We establish what are called spheres of influence. We conduct special studies recommending ways to simplify and streamline governmental structure. And we do this for all of the cities and special districts. We determine and or approve the services that special districts are authorized to provide. And this is going to come into play when and if the CSD proposal comes before LAFCO. LAFCO is the one that decides what services are ultimately going to be able to be provided by a CSD. And then we also consider out-of-agency service requests. So there are limited circumstances in which it might make sense for a city or district to extend services outside their boundaries. That, of course, has to get LAFCO approval as well. So boundary change types. What types of boundary changes does LAFCO do? Well, the two that we do primarily are annexations, which is where an area is annexed into a city or a district. Basically, that district or city expands its jurisdictional boundary. And a detachment is the opposite. That's where LAFCO removes territory from a city or district. It's highlighted in red because the detachment is one of the things that we're talking about with this effort. It's the detachment from Rancho Simi Rec and Park District. The other is formation. LAFCO has sole authority to form districts. So formation of districts. Dissolution, same thing. We dissolve districts. We have exclusive authority over that. They're highlighted in red because here we have the formation of a CSD and also the proposed dissolution of the CSA. We also are responsible for incorporations. This is forming a new city, and the opposite, disincorporations. That's eliminating cities. And we have mergers. This is where two districts merge together to form an entirely new district. And consolidations where a district is consolidated with a city. So those are our primary boundary changes. And this is a list of all of the special districts in Ventura County that LAFCO has jurisdiction over. That was a list of all that. There we go. So this is a partial list of the type of districts that LAFCOs have jurisdiction over overall. But these are just the ones in Ventura County, and then, of course, the number of those districts in Ventura County. So there's about, how many altogether? 39, 50? About 50 altogether. And as I said, yeah, we exercise the authority over all 50 of these. Okay, so that's a general overview of what LAFCO is. It's not everything, but enough for purposes here tonight. So now I want to talk about an overview of the CSD formation process. And this process is found in two different bodies of law. It's found in the Community Service District Law. This is the principal act under which CSDs are formed and CSDs operate. But then also LAFCO law. LAFCO law has its own requirements about what the expectations that LAFCO has to go through to form a district. So there's two separate processes at play here. One is the petition process. That has to occur before the LAFCO formation process can occur. So we'll start with the petition process. So the petition process will begin and will end at LAFCO. So there will be an application to LAFCO to start the process. Then it will shift over to responsibilities of the proponent prior to coming back to LAFCO, where the proponents will submit the signed petition. And I'll talk about each step here. So to start this process, the proponents will have to apply to LAFCO. As part of that application, LAFCO will then determine the boundaries of the proposed CSD. We need to look into the boundaries to make sure that they're not going to conflict with some other district or some other agency that's providing services. So we determine what those boundaries are, of course, with the input from the proponents. Then LAFCO will determine the number of registered voters. LAFCO will work with the register of voters, and LAFCO will then determine the overall number of voters within those boundaries. LAFCO will then calculate the 25%. So give a specific number, what is 25% of those number of registered voters within this area, and we'll convey that to the proponents. Then the proponents will take over. The proponents will be required to publish what's a notice of intent to circulate the petition. This will have to be published in a paper of general circulation. Then they have to file a notice of intent to circulate the petition with LAFCO. We will look at the petition, make sure it meets the requirements of a petition, and there are several requirements of a petition. Then the proponents will circulate the petition for signatures. There will be a 6-month period to collect those 25% of voters. The 6 months start at the date that the first signature is affixed to the petition. The required contents of the petition, like I said, there's several. It must list all proposed changes of organization. The change of organization is the formation, the dissolution, and the detachment. There must be a description and a map of the boundaries, terms and conditions, if any, and I'm sure there will be. The reasons for the proposal, the services that are proposed to be provided, the method to finance those services. So if there's special taxes, benefits, assessments, or fees, they need to be divulged up front. Not the specifics, but that these are going to be needed to pay for the services. And then various other requirements. If any of these are not on that petition, LAFCO won't be able to accept it, particularly the method to finance the services, because we'll talk about funding. That's going to be really important in this process. And then it's submitted to LAFCO. So that petition gets submitted to LAFCO. LAFCO will work with the County Elections Division to determine the sufficiency of the signatures. Again, we need 25% valid signatures. If it's insufficient, if there's not enough signatures, valid signatures, we can, either the process stops or LAFCO can give an additional 15 days to go collect more signatures. And if it's sufficient, either before or after that 15-day extension, LAFCO will issue what's called a certificate of sufficiency. That means the petition process is over, it was successful, and now we can move to the next step of an application being submitted to LAFCO. So we start with the LAFCO formation process at that time. There are several steps in the formation process. Starts with the application to LAFCO. Second is the LAFCO review, basically staff review. Then we'll schedule it for consideration by the LAFCO Commission. Then what's called reconsideration, if assuming it's approved by the Commission. And then there's what's called a protest process. And this is if there's no reconsideration or if there is after the reconsideration. I'll talk about all these in a minute. And it culminates with an election. So we'll start with the application to LAFCO. When the application is submitted, LAFCO, us, staff, we have 30 days to review it to determine whether it's complete, whether it meets all of the requirements that we need to move on and start reviewing it. If we determine it's incomplete, we'll notify the applicants of why it's incomplete and what we need to make it complete, and then the applicant will have 90 days to provide us with that information. If we don't get the information in the 90 days, it dies, it's ended. If it's complete, either within that 30 days or within the 90 days, LAFCO will then issue what's called a certificate of filing, and that means we have formally accepted the application and is now ready to start the formal review process. And then that brings us to the LAFCO review. So this is conducted by staff, and it's going to involve a lot of steps, a lot of analysis, a lot of review. So LAFCO will reach out to all of the affected agencies and consult with them. And it's not just limited to the 3 agencies that we're talking about. It's all of the agencies, and how is this going to affect Fire Protection District, if at all? How is this going to affect Triumpho? We're going to check in with all of the districts that provide services within this community. So we're going to review the services that are proposed to be provided, including the level of service and the method of service delivery. Does the CSD propose to do this in-house? Does it propose it to do by contract? And then the all-important thing is the cost of services. and it's the cost of services at the level proposed. And then again, the funding for the services. And this is key to identify the funding for the services. LAFCO cannot approve the formation of a CSD if there's not adequate revenue to provide the services that are proposed at the levels that are proposed. It is specifically prohibited from doing that in the law. And then there's the property tax exchange calculated. LAFCO actually determines the amount of property tax. And for a CSD, just to keep it simple, the amount of property tax that would be transferred to a new CSD is going to be less than the amount of property tax currently spent on the level of services within the community. So without additional revenue sources, the CSD would be starting with less revenue than is currently spent on these services. And I spell it out in the letter that's in your impact, or that's in your packet. So if you want more information, specifics on that, take a look at that. Okay, following our review, staff will write a staff report and make a recommendation to the commission. So we schedule it for commission consideration. Now, the commission can approve it as proposed, or they can amend it as proposed. They can amend the proposal, either wholly, they can entirely amend it, or partially amend it, or condition the approval, or they can disapprove it. So, and again, when I say conditionally, when I said before that a commission, if there's not adequate revenue identified up front, then the commission can't approve it. The commission can approve it, however, on the condition that these adequate revenues, such as a new assessment, are passed by the voters, so that the formation would be contingent on the passage of a new assessment. But that's all going to have to be identified up front. The commission's not just going to say, go out and figure how much it is. We're going to need to know how much it is, and that's what's going to be up to the voters to determine whether they want to impose that new assessment on yourselves. And then there's reconsideration. So now, under this scenario, the CSD has been approved by the commission. It goes into reconsideration. So there's a 30-day window in which anyone can file a request for reconsideration of the commission's action. It's rare, but we have to provide that 30 days. We can't do anything in that 30 days. We just have to wait. If there is a valid request, and the requests have to be valid because they have to bring up some information that the commission was not aware of when it made its decision. So if it's a valid request for reconsideration, the process stops in its tracks, and we have to go through a whole new process of scheduling it for another public hearing before the commission, and the commission then has to reconsider its approval. So if there is no reconsideration process, or it's over, we go to what's called the protest process. So this is another period, usually 30 to 60 days. Because Oak Park is a relatively large area, it'll probably be a 60-day period. This is when registered voters and property owners can file written protests against the commission's action. If it's approval, they're protesting that approval because they don't want it. At the end of this 30 or 60 days, this again culminates in another public hearing at which we count the number of protests. Typically, I'm the hearing officer. The commission designates that to the executive officer to count these protests. So it'll be another public hearing. We'll count the protests if they're countable. If there's too many, we continue it. So if there's greater than 50% protest, meaning more than 50% of the voters have protested, or more than 50% of the property owners also owning more than 50% of the assessed value within Oak Park, the proposal's terminated. It just ends right there. If it's less than majority protest, then it goes to the next stage, which is an election. So then I, as the hearing officer, order an election to occur. And then it goes to the election. If there's no new taxes or assessments, a majority of registered voters need to support it for the formation to succeed. 2/3 of registered voters are required to approve it if new taxes are required. And 2/3 of property owners are required to approve it, to support it, if a new benefit assessment is required. So that's a quick overview of those two processes, and I'd be happy to answer questions. I'm sure you have a lot. So I don't know if we do that now or later. Okay.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you. Great explanation. The next presentation is, hi, Joan. Joan is from our wonderful Ventura County staff, and she's going to cover the next section. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Good evening. I'm Joan Araujo. I'm with the County of Ventura, the Public Works Agency, and I'm the Director of Central Services. One of the areas I oversee is the division that supports CSA4. This has been in place for decades. CSA4 currently provides a number of services, and the current special assessment to those is $17.28 annually per residential unit. It was noted earlier in the presentation, and there was a quote, that reserves are being spent. That has been discussed each spring when we talk about the budget. And for many years, starting about 7 years ago when I started in this position, it was made very clear there was no appetite for an increase. And so that is why, with the evolution of having to pay prevailing wage rates and the fixed revenue, we all know when revenue's fixed since the 1980s, the same amount of bills can't be paid. If everything cost what it cost in the 80s, I would be doing very well, and I bet you would too. So under a CSA, there is a possibility of changing that special assessment, and that would be governed by the process under LAFCO, just as you heard this process. There are a few things to note, and one is County of Ventura, one of my divisions, if a CSD were to form and the CSA were to dissolve, it was noted that all of the work and all the services are provided either by employees of the CSD, and for the number of services I have heard listed, that would be quite an incredible staff, or it is contracted with a public agency. So I don't know what public agency the formation committee has in mind, but should that get assigned to the county and to Public Works, we would carry out those duties, just as we do today with the CSA. One item that has been of great discussion over the years that I've been coming to this meeting, and is the community is quite passionate about, and I'll share something personal. I have 5 children. I understand passion with children, is the provision of crossing guards. And a little more than $250,000 a year is paid out of CSA4 funds for the crossing guards. A CSA is allowed to oversee that, a CSD is not. And so I don't know how that could be provided. I'm not the one to answer that question, but in transparency, I think it would be important for the community to know that. Another thing that I have not seen in my tenure, but should the CSD form, the county is actually the owner of the roads in Oak Park, the easements on the side, the areas the landscape occurs, the sidewalks. And in order for a different entity to work on or maintain those, that would require a contract with the county. That would have to be in place prior to the CSD formation. That would be unprecedented, especially in both areas, but especially on the roads side. It is a statewide formula and responsibility how the county and any city receives the funding for roads. And I cannot begin to fathom how that could be contracted out. I don't know if that would be possible, but that's an important factor, and I'm sure there's great legal minds that could answer that. Mine's much greater than mine. I don't have other things to add to this. We do provide the services under the CSA. I have really tried to be transparent in any presentation I've given in the past, things particularly related to the budget and street sweeping required to be prevailing wage. That has gone up dramatically. Landscape has. We went through 2 RFP to reduce the scope of services provided for the community, and within that reduced scope, we've been able to achieve quite a lot this last year. I'm very happy with the progress, and I hope you are too. The olive tree that was discussed, that was not taken out by Mariposa, who contracts for the CSA. They were shocked by it, and then with their scheduled tree trimming, they were doing no tree removal whatsoever. That is thousands and thousands of dollars per tree. So we really have no idea how that tree was removed, but I know Mariposa did not do that. If there are questions, when public questions come up, I'll be here.
It's green, but can you hear me? Yes. Okay, I'll get a little closer. So now we're going to open it up for questions and comments, and we're going to start with the council. And so, JL, I have opened it up to you.
Questions for Kai. The CSD, how big in terms of number of citizens are there in a CSD? Is there a particular number that I would say optimized to become a CSD, or?
No, nothing. It's whatever makes sense. I mean, there's got to be a tax base, there's got to be an assessment base, there's got to be enough property owners and voters to make it reasonable to form a CSD. But there's no specific number.
But you mentioned a while ago that Oak Park is pretty big to become a CSD, or
well, big just in comparison to other CSDs. Not too big to become a CSD.
Not too big to become a CSD. But what are the sizes of the other CSDs? Like, say, Bell Canyon or...
Bell Canyon, I think, is 800 houses, something like that. And then Channel Islands Beach, I don't know, several hundred houses. So this would probably be the largest CSD if it were to be formed in Ventura County.
Okay. Second question. So I understand the taxes for the election when you're forming. But after the election, the 5 board members of the CSD, can they just raise taxes, or they have to go through an election? Or because not taxes, but basically assessment, or get some funding, they just say, hey, let's pass a new assessment to increase whatever fees. Is that something that they can do, or that everything needs to go through some sort of election process?
Well, ultimately, any new assessment has to go through an election process. Whether it occurs as part of the formation process or later depends on what's being proposed by the CSD. So at the time of formation, the CSD needs to identify what services it wants to provide, and then how it's going to pay for those services.
Yeah.
This is at the formation. So if revenue is needed from a special assessment, then that has to be elected as part of the formation.
Right.
Now, if later, after the CSD is formed, the CSD wants to provide a new service, then you have to come back to LAFCO. You would have to ask LAFCO for the authority to provide that new service, and then you have to identify a funding source. If the funding source means that you need to increase assessments or a new tax, then LAFCO is going to condition that approval on voters approving that special tax or assessment.
But not new service, it's just existing service. We said, oh, you know what, we need to increase something because costs increase, or will that need to go to your approval as well?
No, that would have to go to the voters.
Oh,
But
voters.
I would think that to avoid that situation, any new assessment or tax would have a cost of living adjustment built in. So every year as the CPI increases, the assessment would go up automatically, and it wouldn't go back to the voters in that case.
I see. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jill. Brianna?
My question is around personnel costs. We know what the costs are of our current services. How much will it cost the CSD to provide the personnel to perform those services? And also, if we're adding a 5-member elected council, what would the cost be to pay those 5 council members to the community?
That's up for the proponents to determine, and the proponents need to provide that to LAFCO. So that's part of the overall cost of providing these services. It's administrative costs, it's personnel costs, it's insurance costs, it's everything else that goes along with employing folks. You have costs associated with equipment, with maintenance, with property. I mean, if the new district wants to take over the parks, they're going to have to pay for those parks, ownership. They're not going to be given to the new CSD. So when we say services, it's everything that goes along with the services and all of the costs associated with running a new governmental agency, because that's what a CSD is.
So then LAFCO would not approve the formation of a CSD if we cannot afford to provide the services and the personnel to perform those services. Is that correct?
Right. LAFCO can't, under the law, approve the CSD. The only way it can is if the CSD has identified adequate revenue up front or will have adequate revenue with the passage of these assessments or new taxes.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you, Brianna. Brian?
Question to Mr. Perriman. We're not talking here tonight, or your concept, your proposal of creating a new city. We're talking, we have a city. We're talking, or I think you're talking about separating out the services that are considered important and essential in Oak Park that maybe are not being met to the community satisfaction by Rancho Simi or Public Works Agency. For example, you've mentioned landscaping services, school crossing guards, cane and shuttle, okay? Through a CSD process, you would carve out the services, for example, out of the county. The county would still provide watershed protection services. They would still provide roads and transportation, police, fire. We're not taking over the county. We're simply taking a portion out of the county based on the historical response from the community of dissatisfaction with the level of service from the county or Rancho on those specific services. Am I correct?
So it's a loaded question, so let me break this down. There's a lot
That's what I do.
that to go back. So the first bit is this a proposal for incorporating as a city? No. There's no sales tax base within this area, or there is, but there's just not enough that would fund all of the municipal style services. Now, to your second point, are there potential services that the county is providing today that perhaps the CSD and the community may want to provide? So it's interesting, there's other CSDs that provide crossing guard services as an example, even though the law doesn't say specifically that a CSD can provide a crossing guard service. So how they do it is there's specific legal steps you go through to provide that. Similarly, for the County Public Works Agency today, yeah, it's true that the County Public Works Agency administers the services in CSA 4, but all of the services are contracted. So we would be emulating the same exact model that exists today. The current proposal, everything that I'm referring to right now is subject to change based upon completion of due diligence, the financial analysis that proves out things. As an example, it was brought up earlier, what's the cost to administer CSD? Rancho Simi Recreation Park District actually has in their budget funded roles and positions, including insurance bill back and all kinds of items that are being looked at as a part of a detachment, and in that scope, out of your community's funding that's going for that, would ultimately be able to provide those services that are similar. Again, this is directional feedback. The analysis is not yet complete. However, if you look at Rancho Simi's budget today, there is insurance, there are employees for very specific roles and services. If you look in the CSA budget today, there's about $170,000 of county overhead just for bill back and insurance and other internal items. So those efficiencies of that $170,000 could be put back to work within your district by using the same services.
Okay. Just one more question to tease that out. Ms. Arujas had said that there'd be a lot of staff required to provide the services through Rancho and through the county. I thought I heard you just say we would have the same staff at the county under contract. If that be the case, or if that's the case, under a CSD, there would be an election of 5 people, Oak Park residents, who would become the council, decision makers, but the staff that are doing the day-to-day work are county employees. How do, just like LAFCO wears 2 hats, how do county staff wear 2 hats?
It's a good question. A couple things. The legal basis of which some of the statements were made earlier is we have our council's legal counsel here for the CSD. They could speak to some of that. I think there's some interesting interpretations of law that exist there, and there's also precedent that exists that allows for these things to occur. It's why other CSDs today actually effectuate these specific services. The long story short is we still need to finish our due diligence, and we will put together an application with the community's feedback and the input here from the community. Everything will be legally sound. We actually have a principal engineer, which is not even required as a part of the process, but LAFCO, as a part of a formation, is expected to have a principal engineer stamp plans. The principal engineer will actually review everything before we even submit it so that it is sound. In addition to that, we have a CPA from this community who's volunteering their time, who's also looking at all of the budgets as well. So due diligence is in process, and appreciate everyone's feedback.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Brian. Jane?
I'm kind of overwhelmed. So it sounds like 2 different points of view or 2 different sides. There's a lot of costs potentially involved. I'm even confused about who pays for the elections. You mentioned several different elections that may have to happen.
Well, an election will have to happen at the end of the process. If the election happens and it fails, and the CSD is not formed, the county pays for it. If the election is successful and the CSD is formed, the CSD is going to pay for it.
So Mark, what are the different steps that we take next? I mean, so you had the timeline, you said a lot of the information's initial information. Is this a year process, 2-year process? Do you have any idea what it's going to be?
This is a very good question. The mountain of information that we've received going back to the 1960s is incredible, and we want to make sure that there isn't some kind of uncovered liability that would exist somewhere within Rancho Simi's current area of responsibility or the county's, because if the community were to take that on, and it wasn't budgeted, then the community would be saddled with a solution that's not good. So trust that we are doing that process. We will actually make our Public Records Act documents all available online on the Oak Park Community Services District website so that you can peruse them yourselves and take a look at that. But because of that, I don't have a precise timeline other than we want to do this as quickly as possible because we're hearing from the residents how upset they are with the current level of service that they're receiving. And they're very passionate individuals that want to see change happen quickly. In addition to that, we don't want to impact the school district in any way possible. The school district, as many folks is aware, has a bond that is set to expire in coming years. So we don't want voters to have fatigue over looking at a number of different complex issues together. Wouldn't be fair to the school district, wouldn't be fair to this community. So there's a level of urgency that exists, but there's also we need to do this right. And to Kai's point, I want to make sure that on behalf of the community, an application is concrete so that we're not spinning. That's why we're putting in all this extra time and effort and energy to make sure it's done right. There is another option here for the community. The other option is that the Board of Supervisors can actually write a resolution without moving forward with the 25% signatures of the community. In that resolution, they could be directing LAFCO to initiate these processes, initiate their own review, et cetera. That's a leadership decision for the Board of Supervisors if they'd like to do that. But on behalf of the community is driving this initiative right now.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mark. We appreciate you answering the question. Anything else, Jane?
That's it, thank you.
All right. We have a few more minutes, and before I open it up to the public for comment, if I have two speakers who wanted to speak specifically on this agenda item. If there's anyone else who's now interested, please fill out a speaker card and bring it up. And I see Joel is going to be doing that. Thank you. And before we open it up for public, I just wanted to, my comments. I like to kind of dumb things down because not everybody pays attention and reads everything, and there's a lot of great information tonight, and as Jane said, it's overwhelming. And I have read most of what has already been published, and it has, caused more questions. So I have I'm going to maybe sound like a question, but I'm not expecting an answer, Mark. But you showed in your presentation the poll that you did in social media. And I think you said it was something around 53 or 58 people who responded, with 10% no, 90% about saying yes for the CSD. I found it interesting that the poll was, the questions presented where it seems to be designed to have people say yes. So in the first question, it was if you want to, pay more taxes, basically, or have an assessment. All of us would probably say no. Everybody I know would say no. But then the second question, which would be more pushing people for the CSD, didn't mention anything about increased taxes or assessments. And so when I look at your numbers, that just kind of stood out to me as the driving force why there may have been more yeses than there are nos, because it wasn't clear that there could be additional costs to the community. So I'm not expecting an answer. I just want to make that comment.
Yeah, Chair, may I respond?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the poll right now. It's online. The way that if I may read it, it says very specifically, curious what you think creating an Oak Park Community Services District would finally let residents elect Oak Park leaders directly responsible for parks, wildfire brush clearance currently unfunded, landscaping, street lighting, the Canaan Shuttle, and crossing guard services. With RSRPD leaders based in Simi Valley now considering a new tax assessment because Oak Park's budget is running a deficit, should residents have real local control and the ability for the first time to prioritize safety, brush clearance, and community needs through its own district. I then mentioned read a letter to the editor on this topic. It's listed. And the two options are actually as follows. Keep the existing structure with higher taxes and no local control, with decisions remaining in Simi Valley and Ventura County Public Works. And a second option of create a community services district with local control, replacing current RSRPD and CSA taxes while funding wildfire brush clearance and administration. I'm sorry, but I believe it's written there that the costs are included and the property taxes would transfer over. And if there's administration costs for the CSD, it's incorporated in that. If you'd like me to rerun the poll for the community, we're happy to do it, but directionally, this is at least what was written.
Thank you very much for the response. And based on your response or others, I think Brianna has another question.
I feel like I'm hearing conflicting information regarding crossing guards. It sounds like you're saying a CSD could not provide for crossing guards, and Mr. Perriman is saying that it could. Could you please speak to that?
Sure. There is no crossing guard power listed in the powers of the CSD in the CSD law. So there's other overlying powers that the CSD would have to assume, and that's overall maintenance, construction of roads, landscaping, all of those things. And buried way down deep in those authorities are crossing guards. So I don't know that there's the ability to approve just crossing guards for a CSD to provide. So, and I do want to just clarify and reemphasize a point that I made earlier that I think conflicts with some of the information that you were provided about property taxes. The amount of property taxes that are being spent, that are coming out of this community and being spent on a county service countywide, and the cost, to provide those services countywide, is not relevant to LAFCO when it determines how much property tax is going to be transferred to the CSD. The amount of property tax is going to be based on only the amount that is spent in Oak Park to provide the service, not what's being provided outside in the rest of the county, and it doesn't affect the portion of the property tax coming out of Oak Park that is being spent on those services countywide. So to say that Oak Park pays $400,000 in library services and all of that will come back, that's not the case. It will be less than the amount of property tax currently spent in Oak Park. So without additional taxes or assessments, at the very beginning of the operation of the CSD, you will have less revenue than is currently being spent on the services within Oak Park. I just want to clarify that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kai. Yes, quickly.
So let me clarify a question on that crossing guard, because crossing guard is a function, I believe, about safety of the community. And if the CSD board determines that we need to improve the safety of the community, whether you add another roving vehicle or whatever it is, like maybe a crossing guard, is that something that the board can provide, especially in the areas of improving the safety of the community?
No, there's no authorized power to improve safety. You can have authorized power to provide police protection, authorized power for fire protection, authorized powers for a whole slew of things. But you have to operate only within those powers that are granted by LAFCO to the CSD. You can't go outside those powers. So if you don't have the power to provide a crossing guard, you may not provide a crossing guard. You just don't have the legal authority to do it. You would have to come back to LAFCO and ask for, if we could find a way to allow that in order to do that. There are things that a CSA can do. A CSA can do anything that the county can do. A CSD is more limited. Like I saw there's a CERT, what's it called? Community Emergency Response Teams. The CSA helps fund that, correct? A CSD cannot do that. A CSD cannot participate in that CERT program. A CSD cannot expend funds on that. The only way you can do it, you can do a CERT for fire protection only if you have the underlying authority to provide fire protection services. So there are things that you are not going to be able to do as a CSD that can occur as a CSA. Okay, and the other thing that we're talking about, I hear that the CSD would be taking over contracts from the CSA. That's not going to happen either, because those contracts, I understand, are with a private provider. A CSD may not contract with a private provider. A CSD has to provide or has to contract with a public provider of that service. So if this moves forward and the plan is for the CSD to contract with the county to then contract with a private provider, LAFCO's first question, of course, is going to be, why do we have a middleman there where one is not necessary? we then speak to the efficiency of, is that an efficient way to provide services to this community? And right off the bat, that's the question that occurred to me. That may not be an efficient provision of services. And as you recall, LAFCO is all about government entities providing efficient governmental services. So there's a whole lot of questions. And all of this comes down to what LAFCO is going to authorize. LAFCO may authorize only some of the CSA services and not all of them. And that would mean that the CSA has to stay intact, and the CSA would have to continue to receive a portion of the property tax and a portion of the assessment. So there's a whole lot of what ifs that remain to be seen with this. It's not as simple as we're going to provide these services, we're going to get the tax revenue to do it, and we go on from there. This is going to be a long, drawn-out process, and yeah, I'll stop there.
So what's the timetable looking like as far as going to the election process is concerned? Are you looking like 24 months or
Well,
more?
the petition process is mostly out of LAFCO's hands because there's the 6 months it takes to collect the signatures. That process will be in LAFCO probably 4 to 6 months, and then up to 6 months to collect the signatures. When it gets to LAFCO, the LAFCO process is probably conservatively going to take about a year. And then the timing of the election. So this is not going to be a fast process.
Okay.
Thank you. So I'm going to close council comments and now open it up to public comments. For purposes of this evening's time, we're going to limit it to 2 minutes. We've got 4 to 5 public speakers cards. I'll call Drew Pletcher first. And careful of the wires.
That's quite a machine thing.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and good evening, everyone. My name is Drew Pletcher. I'm a resident of actually Newbury Park, and heard about the Community Services District process and wanted to actually come out and provide some context and my general support for at least exploring this idea and having this conversation. First, before I get to my notes, I want to just say I think it's rather dangerous to talk in absolutes. And I would invite this council, this group, to have an open mind, because a lot of things that I'm hearing from the county are speaking in absolutes, and that's just simply not where we're at in this process. If you listen to Mr. Perryman's, we're in the due diligence phase. You don't know what services you can and could potentially be providing. You're not taking over. I mean, he mentioned you're not taking over, you're not becoming a city, you're not taking over total county services. There's 32 in the statute. There's actually 32 statutory bases for what a CSD can provide if you actually look at the statute. So the conversation is actually really open. And there is a CSD in I apologize, I forget the exact location, but I did confirm there is a CSD actually providing crosswalk service, crossing guard services as part of its, for its residents. But I just wanted to highlight just a couple things raised in the letter during my short time. Number one, the LAFCO letter, it does correctly explain the property tax exchange process required by Government Code 56810. When a new district assumes responsibility for a service, LAFCO must determine that portion
You have 30 seconds?
Yes, ma'am. Portion of the existing property tax revenue, and you attribute to that service and then reallocate it accordingly. But I have 30 seconds. In short, I just want to caution everybody, let's not, the attorneys are not here. Let's be cautious of talking in absolutes, what a CSD could and could not do. Keep an open mind. I invite you to keep an open mind and realize that, again, a lot of things that are being said are simply not true if you actually look at the statute and look at the law. This is a very early process, and I generally want to just show my support for you guys having this conversation and being willing to explore. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask a question for you guys?
Of him?
Yes. Can I ask a question really quick? So you're from News, is it okay, Matt?
We're kind of short on time, but if it's quick.
Really, really quick. You're from, what city were you
Newbury Park.
Newbury Park, is that the CSD?
No, we're part of Thousand Oaks, the city of Thousand Oaks. I just wanted to come out tonight. I've got municipal law experience serving as a city attorney before, and so I'm familiar with the government code and just wanted to come just generally show my support of everything starts and ends with the statute, and I would invite you to, again, keep an open mind.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll invite up Eric Steiner.
Oh, yes, I want to go quick. For LAFCO,
Yeah, sure.
did LAFCO approve both CSA 4 and Rancho Simi?
I'm not sure. LAFCOs were formed in 1963, and I do not know the history of
Okay,
those.
just the reason I'm asking is because if both of those, if the Oak Park portion, based upon the Finance Committee meetings of Oak Park's at a deficit and CSA 4 is at a deficit, I'm curious, how LAFCO, how far in advance, how many years in advance LAFCO does their analysis to look at the financial viability of these organizations, because obviously you would not want to create a CSD that also would be at a deficit. So if we look at both these organizations, their deficit for Oak Park's portion of them, you would not have a CSD that would have that same problem in the futures.
Well, absolutely, and that will be part of LAFCO's analysis to make sure that there's adequate and enough funding in the long term for these services to be provided in the long term.
And then if you were looking at the current property taxes, if you're saying the current property taxes that CSD would get would be less than the combination of all the other revenues that the Park District, CSA are getting, would part of your analysis be looking at, hey, where would all the rest of the money come from, given that both of those need to be apparently bumped up from what we heard tonight, just to break even right now? So would that be part of the analysis?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Adequate funding for the proposed services must be identified.
Okay. And then lastly, when you create a CSD, what happens if in the future it fails and it goes bankrupt or something doesn't go right or people don't want to be elected, or what happens if something goes wrong?
We would have to figure out an approach to dissolve the district and have other districts either take over the services, or those services are just not provided anymore.
So could you, like with Rancho Simi and Ventura County, be obligated in any way to resume those services if previously it was taken from them if the CSD failed?
Not necessarily. LAFCO doesn't have the authority to force a Rec and Park district or any district to pursue an annexation. So whether the county has to take over responsibility, I don't know the answer to that.
So if say if the CSD failed and something went wrong, we could be without parks, something to monitor the parks?
Yeah, absolutely. And any services that the county would then have to assume, say, life, health and safety kind of things, the property tax would then revert back to the county, to provide those services. So those fundamental services, but you'll most likely not have the enhanced street sweeping, landscaping, those kind of things, those non-essential services.
Okay.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. The next speaker will call up is Joel. And you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What I really have is questions, which I'll pose to the group. Isn't it thrilling to be part of this process of democracy, where we can come and voice our opinions, and things happen because of our actions? So, hear for us. My first question is, just because other communities formed community service districts, if they all jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge, would Oak Park do that too? I don't think it's a good idea that just because others have formed it, I don't think that's a valid argument for us to form one. Point one. Question one, sorry. Oh, I made a point. I meant to ask questions. I just met Drew outside, and he did say that the attorneys aren't here. Did you not, Drew? That was part of your presentation? You said the attorneys aren't here. But didn't you introduce yourself to me as an attorney? Oh, sorry, it's just a question. It's rhetorical, purely rhetorical. My fault. I didn't mean to invite a response. Apologize. I wonder, too, I'm the fool sitting in the back of the classroom, and I'm happy to play that role, but I wonder why there was such a flurry of texting going on between our guests from Newbury Park, and I think one of you fellas is from Malibu and one from Camarillo, maybe? Students in government. Thank goodness you're here, part of the political process, but I wonder why Mr. Perryman was looking at his phone and receiving texts while he was being asked questions, when he was listening. It's just a question, another question. Welcome, by the way. I also wondered, Mark, if, apologize, we met once a few months ago, and you said, I didn't realize you had worked for Linda Parks. I was the only speaker at a county supervisor meeting in 2017 or 18, where I spoke in favor of
15
some swales,
seconds.
thank you, and biofilters to filter storm water. And some folks here spoke against it. 19 people did. I was the only one who spoke in favor of it. The Board of Supervisors passed it, Linda Parks dissented, and then the community decided to protect some trees and so forth, not to do those swales. I wonder if you were part of that, if you were working, oh, you weren't, okay, good to know, you were before that.
Okay.
That's reassuring, thank
Time.
you.
Time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have one more speaker, but Ruben, I wanted to just clarify, you gave a speaker card. You checked general comments. Is this for, on the topic? Okay. Okay, thank you. So if you'd like to come up next.
What was the name?
This is Ruben.
Ruben. Okay.
And is it Macia?
Maciel, M-A-C-I-E-L.
Thank you.
So I'm an Oak Park resident, and I'm probably the most ignorant person on this subject in this room. But as a resident of Oak Park, here's one thing that I keep on hearing time and again, and at these meetings I heard a few times before, that we are running out of money, that we are actually, reaching into the reserves, and those are gonna go down. So to me, at the very least, just following Drew's point, makes sense to look into it. Yes, questions should be asked, right? We need to know everything behind it. And in my view, if it does what it says it does, if it can be done in the way that is presented to be done, and if it will benefit the residents of Oak Park, so that we don't have to be thinking, hey, we're running out of money, we may have to pick a service, cross guards, shuttle, outdoors, whatever those may be. I've heard that from this group before. Guys, we're running out of money. You guys need to understand that. So if by doing this, we are able to resolve the issue, have a better life in our community, not have to worry, and have it done in a way that would make sense and would have a long-term vision where we actually have the ability to have a better control and better response to our citizens and the people who live in this community, I can't see why it would not make sense. It would have to. I'll just reiterate the point. Questions have to be answered. It has to check the right boxes. The pros and cons have to
15
really
seconds.
be looked at. And if the pros are higher than the cons, it's just math is math. It will never not work. So that's my comment.
Thank you very much. Carolyn, would you like to come up next? Would you like us to bring the microphone to you?
Thank you very much. My concerns are just more personal as I've lived here and trying to deal with situations, for example, sidewalk repair, and dealing with Ventura County has been a huge challenge, and the homeowners are responsible for the sidewalk repair, but the situation dealing with some people, I don't want to mention names right now, has been very, very, very difficult. For example, I choose to have sidewalks ground down, the pads that are lifting replaced, and or the sidewalk serpentine around the trees. Not the first choice would be from the county to remove the tree. Okay, that again goes along with the landscape choices. tree trimming with Rancho Simi, arguing with them that deciduous trees should be trimmed in the fall, not in the summer when it's cheaper. So those kinds of decisions I'm very concerned about. Another problem we have in fire situation is evacuation. Oak Park is in the worst 1% of the state by a study done from UC Berkeley after the Woolsey fire, okay? Right now, we're dealing with Agora Hills. I've been dealing with them for 2 years about this, and we really don't have a lot of a voice. I feel like if we were our own district, we would have more control, more power at the table to talk about evacuation situation here. With Agora being Canaan, they want to build more houses along Canaan or more properties, and along Lindero are the only two escape routes. They don't seem to understand that very well, so we are definitely trying to convince them to limit the construction down there. But these are situations, if we had more local control, that I feel would be much more in our benefit. So that's where my concerns are.
Thank you. And I just want to, not to correct you, but it's been almost 4 years for efforts to try and ensure that Oak Park has safe evacuation.
Thank you.
It started
Yes.
in the early summer, if not before, of 2022. So thank you very much.
Yes, yes, I've been going to meetings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, it's not possible for Kai to respond to any of those concerns about if the CSD would be able to fund those concerns that Carolyn asked? Is that totally out of protocol?
In terms of like sidewalk repair and those types of things?
Evacuation routes, sidewalk repair, would the CSD have the money to do that based on the fact that they're getting such a small portion of the tax?
Yeah, I would like to defer that, if possible. We have one more speaker, and then we're going to close public comments on this topic. RL?
My question is for Mr. Kai. Can I call you Mr. Kai? Okay. So when I saw your letter, I think I got it last week. I posted it on the Oak Park Facebook page, and I'm referring to the longish letter that you wrote in response to Mr. Perryman. And I just posted it with some sort of like generic, everybody should show up at this meeting, and honestly, this is a great turnout. And Mr. Perryman immediately responded to the effect that the letter was wrong. I forget or your conclusions were wrong. I forget his exact words, but he said that he demanded a retraction from you within an hour. Have you, in fact, retracted what you said in your letter? And if not, why not?
No, the letter's accurate. That letter was prepared after consulting with staff from the Auditor Controller's Office who know about this. It was written after I consulted with other LAFCO executive officers who have done this, and it was reviewed by LAFCO Legal Counsel. So we are confident that it is accurate and it will not be retracted.
Thank you very much, RL, for your questions, and Kai and everybody for your responses. We are going to move on to the next agenda item, which is item number 12, written comments from the public and MAC discussion. I will ask the council if anyone received any written comments from the public.
No.
JL?
No, don't have any written comments.
I did receive a letter with a question that Ashley is following up with Public Works.
Okay, thank you. Brian?
Madam Chair, I received two. One was from Mr. Eric Steiner, January 26th, of which I was copied, as was Crystal, as were you, Chair, as was Ashley Bautista, as was Supervisor Gorel. And it's regarding Hawthorne Drive. And Mr. Steiner states, there are a number of old sprinklers which no longer retract. Attached are photos of two sprinklers showing that they are too short to spray above the tall straw wattles. Even if the sprinklers were turned on, much of the water would be wasted, spraying onto the wattles, not irrigating the plants. In the meantime, the new plants will continue to wilt. I understand from the latest email from Supervisor Grell, his response was Thank you, Eric, looking into options. Okay, that was Hawthorne. The second one I received was an email from Jenna Orkney on January 26th, oak trees on Canaan Road between Conifer and Tamarind. And she writes, I do think it's very important to consider the arborist study and report that the county paid for from 2004. The strong recommendation was not to have turf under oak trees 6 feet out from the trunks, and not to irrigate there, and to place mulch in that zone. Venco Western was the previous contractor, and Enhanced Landscape followed this plan until the last 2 years. I guess Mariposa and present county staff don't know about it. That is because the irrigation is now going to the trunks of the trees, and Mariposa put down potting soil in the zone and grass seed. It has to be removed to comply with the arborist recommendations, and I told Mariposa staff doing the work what was required, but I was ignored. Can you share this with the arborist report? She sent that to me the next day. The landscape committee did go out. I did have the report. Crystal provided it to me. We made copies. The director of Public Works was in attendance at the meeting. He has a copy of it, as was Mariposa. And it turned out that we talked about it quite a bit and looked at the site. And Mariposa will be providing this council at our February meeting with cost estimates for that recommendation.
Okay. Thank you. And
as they promised.
As it relates to the irrigation within 6 feet of a tree, I'm glad you brought that up, because next to the tree that was cut down, the olive tree, the smaller tree, less mature, there are clear irrigation flags that have been set up. I assume Mariposa put that there. And there was water pooling around the base of that small tree. So I assume that they were planning to come back and address that. I had not had a chance to send that along, but I do have a photo of that. So I'll send it along to you, Crystal, so that we can ensure that that is, I don't know if that's part of the same thing, but the diameter around that tree is clearly less than 6 feet. It's more like, you know, a foot best, and there's a lot of water pooling. So, Brian, were there any other
No, that
comments?
is all, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Jane? Do you have any written comments?
No.
Okay. Just back on that olive tree, I wanted to just mention that there will be a ticket opened up with Public Works, because it was kicked back by the other Ventura agency as saying that it's a public right-of-way, and it's Ventura County that needs, Public Works that needs to look at it. So you'll see that coming maybe later tonight, Jane. And on the sidewalk repair you brought up, I believe that the street paving project that it's on our tickler log. It has been on our tickler log. The project is planned to be starting up in September, to be completed in November, which is kind of hard to believe that all of that could be done in a short period of time, but that is the current schedule. You can find a link in the tickler log. There's a link to the Ventura County website for that project, and you'll get updates. But the street paving is expected to begin later in the late summer, and it was my understanding that sidewalk repairs would also be done. In fact, markings have been done on sidewalks for probably the past year.
With grinding, not to take out the tree.
There, yeah, I don't know. I can't.
That seems to be the
Yeah.
coexisting thought, and I'm curious about that.
Understand. So if anyone's interested on the schedule of the street paving, you can find the schedule on the Ventura County Public Works website. With that, that concludes item number 12. I'm sorry, any other MAC member discussion for items not related to written comments? So do you have anything else you wanted to bring up, JL?
No.
Okay, Brianna?
No, thank you.
Brian?
No.
Jane? No. Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to comments by Supervisor Gorell. He couldn't be with us this evening due to family medical issue, but Crystal, were you going to speak on his behalf and provide an update? Okay.
He asked me to send his regrets and his apologies. His wife did have a medical procedure.
Thank you very much. So are there any questions for Crystal, JL,
No.
Brianna, Brian?
No, Madam Chair.
Jane? Thank you. I have none as well. All right, we're going to move on to the committee and liaison reports, and believe it or not, we're 5 minutes out of schedule. So let's start with JL.
No meeting for Fire Safe Council, so
Okay.
no updates.
Brianna?
Just a quick update from Oak Park Unified. During the holiday break, the district website and all school site websites were updated. The TK playground at Brookside was also updated. Resident enrollment is currently open. Any residents who have school-aged children or new families that have moved into the area can contact the schools if you'd like to enroll your children in OPUSD. 3 OPHS winter sports teams made it into the playoffs: boys basketball, girls basketball, and boys soccer. If you have time, please come and watch their games. They would love to have the support of the community. Girls water polo just finished their second season as a sport at Oak Park High School. The addition of this sport was made possible by being able to use the pool at Cal Lutheran. The district has asked to be included in the planning process for the 60th anniversary celebration of Oak Park. They have asked that once a committee has been formed, to please reach out to them. They think it's a great opportunity for students to participate in the planning process. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to skip you, Brian. I'm going to go to Jane next for Triumpho.
All right. So for Triumpho, I wanted to show you the calendar that was Metropolitan Water District, and one of our Oak Park students got a picture in there. She was awarded a $100 gift certificate, and all the students from Oak Park that submitted artwork received $25 gift certificates from Triumpho. There's a new contest for next year, for this year, 2026. This is 2026 calendar, but it'll be this year for a 2027 calendar. And so the deadline ends April 27th, and Triumpho's working with the school district to ask for students to submit their ideas again. There are a couple of upcoming events. The City of Westlake Village Town Hall, the Pure Water District, Pure Water Project is going through Westlake Village, and the new district building is going to be built in Westlake Village. So they're going to have a town hall meeting in February. The Pure Water Project facility groundbreaking is going to be April 10th. And then there's a couple of events, the Film Festival in Westlake Village and the Great Race, and Triumpho is sponsoring both of those events. And then in addition, there are some Water Smart workshops being presented by Triumpho. They're going to be in the month of February, March, and April, and you can go out to the Triumpho website and register. They're free. That's it for me.
Thank you very much. And we'll move on to our school student liaison.
We have our first ever winter formal on February 7th, because we usually have a spring fling, but we wanted to do a new rebrand this year, so we're calling it a winter formal instead of having it a little earlier than usual. So that's on February 7th from 7 to 10 p.m. And then we just got new vending machines at the school this year. I know.
Oh, so sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Could you repeat that?
Yeah. I just said that we have a winter formal on February 7th, and it's our first one. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's that one comment.
All right,
On the
and
landscape.
then Brian on CSA4 landscape.
I'll just be brief, given the time here. We didn't have a meeting in December as a group. However, the residents of Hawthorne reached out to me and said that this is really important to them because we had been waiting for so long. So I went out with them, and the report here shows we created a plan of our own to communicate clearly to the county and to Mariposa what we were looking for. So you'll see in the package, you'll see the report, you'll see all the photographs in this. And it looks like with the support of Supervisor Gorell, the planting along Hawthorne was completed by year end. So we're really excited about that. So there's some things still need to be done. Irrigation still needs to be monitored. Found some things like the contractor decided to put these things called wattles, bales down. You know, stops the erosion from going down there. So that was good. They'll be monitoring that. The only problem is they put a number of them on top of the irrigation heads, spray heads. So when the spray came up, they watered the bottom of the wattles. So, you know, they're working on some of that. But so other than that, it's pretty clear what we've done here. And I want to thank Eric Steiner for leading this process. I personally believe, in my opinion, it was through citizens that got the project completed. Thank you.
Agreed. Okay, so is there anything else, Brian?
That's all, thank you.
Okay,
I've
great.
got a quick, are we going to nominate somebody to be an RSRPD liaison?
I have it on the list of us to get to soon.
Okay.
Yeah. So on the landscape, I wanted to just mention that the tree maintenance that occurred starting a couple of weeks ago along the Canaan corridor from Tamarin to I don't know how far west. I assume it went all the way to Lindero. Maybe they're still working on it. But from what I personally observed from Tamarin to Doubletree, I thought Mayor Poza did an outstanding job in setting up all of the appropriate caution cones and signage well in advance before the area that they were working on. It was very clear to drivers that there was going to be some work being done. So I applaud them. It was probably one of the best signage, if you call it that, leading up to work being done along Canaan. I honestly, if I did not see them working, I probably would not have noticed the trees were trimmed because they did such a good job of making it look natural and they didn't cut it back and, you know, hard pruning and, you know, butchering, which we've often seen. And I'm not an expert, but I love trees and I love them to be properly pruned. The Canaan Monument and community sign planting looks fabulous, if you've noticed. I think those are pansies that are planted out there, beautiful color. Weather got through all the rain that we just had, so they still look good after that. I'm glad to see that, so I applaud the landscaper for doing that. I'm not sure if it's in the report, their recent report, but we had in November voted on having the footprint reduced in front of the monument so that we could save some money. It looks like the bed is still the same size, which, you know, it looks terrific, but I would like to know, I think we all want to know, did we achieve those cost savings that we were anticipating? Oh, thank you.
They honored the price they quoted that they planned to
Oh, nice.
I would not expect that again.
Good negotiations.
I second that.
Okay. So those were costs not to exceed, and there were some between the monument sign and the community sign, there was a vast cost difference, and the community sign is like a postage stamp compared to the monument side, and the postage stamp was like, I think, twice as much. So that's why I still question what we were actually charged, so we can take this offline later, but anyway, so that completes the MAC comments, and so we are going to move on to the next topic, which is the announcements and future MAC meetings. The next meeting is the 26th, and we've got a lot of deferred topics we were hoping to get to this month, but because of the CSD, we wanted to make sure we had plenty of time for that. So we're going to review the 2026 work plan and get hopefully approval from the council, as well as review the achievements for 2025. Jeff Palmer from Ventura County Works is going to provide an update on the Medea Creek and the long-range management plan for that. Would like to get an update on the Ron Stark Memorial Bench and the possible locations, and I know JL has been working with, I think, is it
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, terrific.
I have an update yet.
And then the County of Ventura combination for one of the ranchos, our senior grounds maintenance supervisor, who has, constantly gets accolades for that. I want to go back, and then going into March, we're going to have the review of our tickler log. We've been using that for over a year, maybe a year and a half, and I would like to get some input to make sure that, is it an effective tool? And so if you could please take a look at that and give some thought. And also about the Oak Park 60th anniversary, which I think ties in very nicely with the memorial bench for Ron Stark. So, so we'll, get onto that. And then to your recommendation, JL, and I think we all agree, is to have someone from the council to be on the Rancho newly formed Oak Park Committee. And I'm going to ask in terms of process and procedure, I don't think, can we discuss that in this meeting, or does it have to go on an agenda?
That's going on the agenda.
Okay, so I would, I think we have a little bit of time because that's all still kind of forming, and so either if we can't get it on the February agenda, we'll put it on the March agenda. Is that?
Sounds great.
Okay, do we need a motion for that or not?
No
No,
need.
we just added in.
You just
Okay.
add it.
Okay,
Yep. I just have one more to add.
okay.
I'd like to add for next month, maybe it's March now, a lot of stuff here, the 2004 arborist study and 2005 recommendations for the arborist, for the oak trees on Canaan between Confer. I believe we said that we were going to have that in February. And just so I probably wasn't clear enough, when we were out there and Director Greg Struckalis was there, and we were talking, he said, yes, we should have that information to the MAC. So that sounded like I was demanding or directing, but I wasn't. I was simply communicating.
Okay, so we've got 2 additional topics to be added either in February or March.
So I just want to mention the Oak Park Committee that you were talking about for Rancho Simi. They're having the meeting February 19th. So if we move it to March or February, our meeting, to discuss adding a liaison, it's going to be after their meeting.
So, okay, so with that, again, this is the starting process.
I know,
of it.
I know.
And so once you guys go through the formality and everything, again.
I'm just saying, we'll miss the initial, the initial meeting if we don't have somebody
Well,
go.
I don't think we don't have to miss the initial meeting. Someone can still attend the
No,
meeting,
I'm just,
but not as an official liaison
attend
from the
that.
MAC.
okay,
I plan
great.
to attend that.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
JL.
Yeah, we can
That's
go,
all I care
we
about.
can go as citizens.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Just don't talk to each other.
Eric, is this related to anything that we're,
Suggestion, last year the MAP did not feel they had enough time to review the financials before approving the budget, so I suggest we might include that.
yes, that's a good
Yes.
point, and we put it, I think last year we started asking about this in March.
Yeah.
And it looks like we're
and-
gonna start.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I,
March
thank
and
you,
April.
thank you, Eric. So we'll add that as well.
Our budget.
All right, so the next SMAC meeting is February 26th.
May I just throw in one quick comment on the floor? 1 minute.
You always have great things to say. Why
Cost you a
not?
box of donuts.
Yeah, sorry. I want to just say that all ages are welcome at this weekend's community events. Kids love the crayfish, kids love to pick up trash, and then for our adult citizens like myself, the weed pulling, invasive plant removal is much more user-friendly, and it's on a hard-packed path. I want to apologize for not following the Brown Act. I didn't realize it's my 3rd meeting, so I want to apologize to Drew. Oh, I guess he's gone, and oh, the other visitors are gone too. Mark, would you mind tendering my apologies to Drew for calling him out somewhat publicly? And if I just may quickly read a comment of some citizens who couldn't be here tonight. Sorry, the phone is locked. I think it's important that we look at the ambitions of the people who are putting this district forward. looking at the letter, maybe trying to circumvent a need for a vote of the people. And we wouldn't want to fund police, fire, and all these other services that the county now provides.
Thank you. All right. Yeah.
Madam Chair? Okay, Jail.
Oh, wonderful. All right, can we do it after the adjournment? Okay,
Madam
terrific.
Chair, I
'cause
just want to say, as the outgoing president, you did an amazing job on your letter. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you for your help. So it is 9:40, and we are going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Well
Thank
done.
you. Thank you. Like this too. Yeah.
Can you pass a motion that we get raises or get some money?